Good morning, evening, night, whatever it is where you are. This is me, Paul, your host. With me is the red bearded kiss of death
Joe LaRussa, how you doing,
and
everybody?
our the man with all of the back pain in the world from carrying our entire podcast.
Hello, Alejandro. Back from flooding.
Back from flooding and about to be disappearing yet again, leaving all three of us fledglings gasping for air. But we're going to figure something out, won't we?
You floated back into camera.
Oh, yes. And technically halfway through of last week's episode. But
yeah, you were there for a good chunk.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to finally be back. It's been a minute for me because of just everything going on and conspiring against all four of us simultaneously.
Mhm.
But we made it. We're doing another episode. And I guess we'll just go straight into our little preamble because we love to escape out here, as this is the X Button Podcast, Escape Gaming's podcast. Oh my gosh, Escapes Gaming Podcast that posts every Friday, 10 a.m. onwards, God willing. Available in the YouTube channel Escape Gaming, as well as most audio services around the world, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the like. You can find links in the RSS feed at tinyurl.com/Escape Gaming. If you enjoy our show, give us a like and subscribe.
Housekeeping. Yeah, let me jump into some housekeeping.
Yeah.
This week's episode. Yeah. This week's episode of our review for The Last of Us Season 2 didn't go live for personal reasons. Next week's episode is going to cover both that episode and the finale, as well as kind of like an overview of the season. The other reviewer, Rick Davis, is actually going to join us in a few minutes here. So you'll get to hear from both of us what we thought of that entire season. Just know that the sixth episode was the best episode of that series, in my opinion. That's all I need to say about that. So
that is definitely a Venn diagram that does not involve me, as I dropped off after season 1. However, I'm glad
I dropped off after episode 1. I watched the first episode, Paul.
It's not a competition, Joe.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad that at least we can do some coverage on that for the general audiences out there. And man, hey, one day maybe there will be something that I actually care about to cover.
Yeah.
But
the things you've been playing, basically.
Speaking of things that we all care about, we're going to talk about the stuff that we've been playing lately, and we're going to start with Joe this week. Joe, you've been kind of outside of the wheel of influence involving the rest of us and the kind of games we've been playing. What have you been working on?
Yeah, you say outside the wheel of influence, but it's really just like delayed in the same wheel, because I'm going to get to all the games, well, most of the games that you guys are playing, but GameStop and all of that,
yeah, they kind of
call it that
over.
Tragedy. That tragedy screwed me over and messed up my whole schedule of when I was going to do things. So yeah, I have finally finished Assassin's Creed Shadows. I know I've talked about it a lot, and Rick and I actually spent a fair bit of time talking about it last week, because he and I really hadn't got to talk deeply about it, because when he's been on, I hadn't had as much time in. But I have finished the game. I have platinumed the game. I'm going to call it a cool 100 hours to do it. But I did everything, I think I found every location in the game. At least all the question marks are found.
We talked about it separately, but how much of the game do you actually have to do to get that platinum?
You only have to do like 50% of the game, give or take, for the platinum, which is good. You don't need to do the whole thing. I did everything just because I wanted to. The main time-consuming things there are certain collectibles that are tied to an achievement, but not all of the collectibles are tied to an achievement, if that makes sense. So I just went and did all the collectibles and anyway, because I wanted to. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I really liked the game. Someone had asked me in a Discord chat what I would give it on a normal 1 to 10 scale, and I think I would probably say it's a 7.5. I know Alex. I know,
all the time.
I know.
I was like a cool 100,
No.
and then doing all the collectibles because you wanted it, for it to land at a 7.5 must mean that it still holds such a very special place in your heart, I would understand.
It does, because the reason I dock it is because, not because of it being bad, but because Ubisoft just decided to do that thing that people that make sequels like to do, where they make things worse for some reason, even though what they had worked really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I, for the life of me, cannot understand why they got rid of the ability to fast forward time to between night and day. For instance, in the last 4 games, you could just hold the touchpad down and time would go to the start of night or the start of day, and that was it. And it was easy. And I don't know why they would get rid of that. And then also they got rid of the ability to have the torch, which I know Alex had talked about. Like, why? Why would you do that? And then they got rid of the ability to climb everything, and I don't understand that choice either, because this area is so hilly and mountainy. Like, this is the area you want to climb everything in.
Told you, didn't I tell you at the beginning? I was like, that's
you did.
You
You did tell me, and it in fact is annoying. Alex, I can't even tell you how glad I am that I played this game after they added back in the auto moving horse.
Oh my god,
because
yes.
I used that constantly. I was like always using that. It was amazing. I'm just gonna use this and then chill and like scroll my phone or watch something else, you know. I don't know why they made these changes that they did, but they made them, and they are dumb. They're dumb changes that I wish that they had not done, and that really hurts the game. It really does. And then my other criticisms remain the same. We didn't need 2 protagonists. We only should have had the one. I would have loved a Yasuke game. Like, I want a game with just Yasuke. That would be really cool.
Yeah,
because then I would feel
game.
like a samurai game. And then Alex, let me ask you this: did you find that the companions were poorly utilized? They were like underdeveloped.
Yes, because I never felt the need to use them, because I got so used to the gameplay loop that I felt that having them was just a feature more than something useful to me personally. Yeah, so
I didn't mean using them. I actually mean their involvement as characters. I feel like you did their one storyline and then they just like disappeared. Hey, we have
it's that guy.
There it is. Hi, Rick.
Hello.
We get a full house today. Nice. So continue, Joe. What happened to your camera?
Yeah, I had to step away for just a second. The TV, my PlayStation went into sleep mode, and it went back to the TV, and so the TV was playing sound, and I didn't want to have sound running throughout the whole time while I was talking. Yeah. So, Rick, I was just talking about the fact that I finished Shadows and I have the platinum, and explaining my general criticisms of it, and I like the game. I'm still working on where it fits in my rankings. It's higher than Valhalla. It's higher than Mirage. It is lower than Odyssey. It's lower than Brotherhood. It's somewhere in the top half, though. It is definitely in the upper half of the games for me.
Yeah, I'm really weird right now with Shadows, because I feel I'm still under the... You played 70 hours of this thing in 11 days. You burnt out like so quickly that when you... when you mentioned you only need 50% for the platinum, I was like, let me go back and kind of start.
Yeah.
And after 10 minutes, I shut it off. I was like, I can't. I'm still sick of this. I'm not compelled to go back to this. So I really need to separate more out of that burnout before I really like analyze it. But I have, and that's fair. And I feel my opinion of Shadows diminish over time from like when I reviewed it. But again, like, that's my context of like having like blasted through like that damn game in 11 days. Where
I mean, I definitely didn't blast through it. You know, I went through it. It took me like a month. I think exactly a month of playtime, because there's a week in there where I went back to KCD2 and finished it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wish that I liked it more than I do. And it's interesting to me, because I remember seeing like Hoag's comments on Twitter about how much he was loving this game. And I'm like, I can understand loving this game, but I also don't know how you can ignore the glaring problems with the changes they made to it. And so I enjoyed it. I look forward to continuing. I really like Naue and I really like Yasuke. I wish they were their own story characters. I wish the companions had been actual companions. Also, it's super buggy in terms of like the dialogue and the talking. I finished, the one guy, Ganojo. I finished the game, and then I got to talk to him, and he was like, Yeah, I did show up here. Thanks for inviting me. I was like, why did I play 100 hours and you just started talking to me? Like, some of that stuff was a little buggy, but yeah, good game.
Nice.
Not as great as it could have been. I really like the combat. I think this combat was really cool. I think that Nawe's combat when you're actually fighting as her is really fun as well once you get the hang of it. And I look forward to seeing what they do more. I will always play Assassin's Creeds. I love them.
Through that.
I
think they have their hooks evenly in all four of us at this point. Like, somehow the first 4 games were so good that it still has us like 10, 15 years on.
Yeah. I wanted to say one other thing though before we move into the other game I was playing, and that's I wish that I had paid more attention to the Animus anomaly things, because I want to find those. I don't even know where the vault is for the data that you're unlocking, but I want to see what the modern story is, and I have not been able to figure out where the vault was.
I think to get that information. In the options. It's somewhere in the options, but I don't know.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, you bring up the menu, then you press and hold the touchpad button, and it brings up the Animus from there, and then it's under there.
I couldn't find the vault itself for the couple things, but yeah, I wish the Animus story, the modern story, was a little bit more integrated, because I do like that stuff. So that's the last thing I'll say on Shadows. I will play the DLC as when it comes out. I did do the Louis Froy mission because that was in the game when I was playing, and then I will wait until everything else is out. I don't know if they're going to do more than the one expansion. They have the Claws of Awaji, I think is the expansion that's going to come out.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the parkour changes, which is supposed to happen any day.
I think that update already happened.
I was going to say, I thought that happened.
Okay, yeah, I played it before that, so I didn't have the updated movement.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's Shadows. And then the other thing I've been playing, which won't take me too long to talk about, is continuing the Ubisoft train, Star Wars Outlaws DLC.
Skip that. I don't want to hear about that. Because I'm not playing it yet, so don't talk about it.
Okay, so we won't talk.
Yeah. If you can talk outside of story, go for it.
Yeah, I wouldn't spoil the story anyway for people. Because for Rick, have you played any of them or not the newest one?
What, the DLC? No, yeah. I've not played the DLC at all in it.
Okay, so I only did the older DLC, the Wild Card DLC. It's good. It's a fun game. I really don't want to talk about that so much as I want to say that this game is like kind of totally different, but also exactly the same as when I played it at launch. Like, it still feels the same. It still has that core. Everything does exactly what it did before, except now I can hold my gun and shoot. Like, I was doing the one mission and I picked up a shotgun, and then like I ended up back on Toshara and I still had that shotgun. And I ended up using it in another mission later on, which was cool. Like, that's something that should have been there from the start.
It feels like a complete game now, like mechanically.
It does. Yeah, it really does. I want to call Ubisoft out for weird controls. Why is the default interact R3 and then alternate? I did too. And alternate is square. I'm like, why would I want to interact with R3? I did not understand that. But they put it back because I had already changed it, and then when they did their updates, it like reset itself, I guess, or something. So I had to put that back.
Wasn't there something else that came out recently that had the interact?
Star Wars Jedi. Jedi does it too.
Jedi Survivor does it too.
Sure enough, yeah.
No, you're not constantly grabbing a lot of stuff in Jedi Survivor, like you're constantly like looting and.
Outlaws. That is a constant thing.
Like, you're always grabbing stuff there. Yeah, so that's okay.
Joe,
it.
As far as like, real quick, remind me your opinions on the base game, just so I can understand the perspective here.
Also 7.5.
Yeah,
no, that was what you gave it.
Yeah,
you gave it an 8, didn't you?
I gave it an 8. Joe gave it a 7.5.
I did. I gave it a 7.5. It is less of a firm 7.5. So like Shadows for me is like 7.5 firm. Like, it's definitely an easy 7.5. Outlaws is like between 7 and 7.5 for me. Like, I could go either way depending on the day. But yeah, so to your question, Paul, 7.5 is what I would have said at the time, because it's a good game, but it suffers from the same obvious kinds of problems that should have been able to fix, and now they seem to have fixed some of them, so maybe I would have enjoyed it more. I think that the voice acting is really good in this game, and it's really pretty. I'm not... Alex, do you know if they fixed the PSSR implementation of it?
Yeah, you watched the fixed PSSR.
Okay.
Fixed.
fixed. Yeah. I was gonna say it looked a little wonky.
It's still not good at all, but that's not Ubisoft. That is specifically Ubisoft Massive, because Avatar has the exact same issue and they made that same game. But you look at Shadows, and Shadows PSSR implementation is one of the best on the platform. So
it's gorgeous. Shadows is one of the most gorgeous games I've ever seen, and I immediately go in between the two because I went one day Shadows, one day Outlaws. Shadows did not have the cutscene texture pop in blurry, like builds out the details.
It's a different engine too.
Yeah, it's still their Anvil engine. Yeah, but I'm just like Ubisoft, whatever they did in Shadows, they made it run so amazing compared to the weird quirks of the Snowdrop engine with Outlaws. But even still, I really liked the game, and I really liked the DLC. It was short. It wasn't really long. I did it in one night. I think I started at like 10 and I was done by like 1:30 or something. So it was like 3 or 4 hours long.
Real quick, how much Savak is in that expansion? Because I haven't played it. Do you play a lot Savak in it?
I don't know how much Rick wants me to say on this, but Rick, do you care about how much Sabak is in there?
No. That's not a spoiler.
Yeah, there's one game of Sabak.
Cool.
It's just
and
the one
DLC
game
about Sabak.
Yes.
And gambling.
It's
gonna sound ironic, but I'm actually really glad for that because I did not like that.
It's about Lando, so that would make sense.
It's one big Sabak game, and then the rest of it is like Star Wars Outlaws.
It's like a big heist around the
that makes more sense
as they saw.
Not quite a heist. You're literally trying to win the tournament. Like you're supposed to win the game.
You're Casino Royaling it.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome. I wish I could play it.
Yeah. So it's good. I enjoyed it very much. I'm glad to do it. I have the Pirate's Fortune, I think is what it's called, that came out. That came out like this week, didn't it? It like just came out.
It came
like
out
literally
last week, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, depending on timing of this and editing and everything, I'll be away this weekend, so I don't know if I'll get it done tonight. But I will get it done before. And then next on the docket, as a good segue for everyone else, is I will be playing Clair Obscur Expedition 33 very soon. Very excited. And I'm going to throw it to Paul, because Paul has been missing in action for 3 weeks.
That I have.
Yeah.
And boy, let me tell you, obviously I'm going to avoid spoilers as hard as I possibly can, including everything at the end of Act 1 and beyond it. But of course we can
talk prologue spoilers, please.
Buddy, I don't know if I can do that. The prologue explains the concept of the whole game.
But the concept of the game is fine. Like we all know about the people disappearing, but like that's
beyond
that's
the prologue.
Okay.
So we'll at least talk the prologue because that's what the concept of the game is. Anyway, all that is to say, of course, everybody's been talking left and right and center about Clair Obscur Expedition 33. There's a very good reason for it. We talked about it last time I was on here, but neither of us had finished it very far. I don't even think I had finished Act 1.
You were not.
And my goodness, the fact that I was able to give it such flowers before actually getting to the part everybody considers to be the absolute real part of the game, it's very surprising to me, frankly.
Is that Act 2? Is that what people consider to be the real part of the game?
The actual part that ends Act 1 and everything past that point, yes.
Okay.
Everything else is more like a prologue, but I'll still kind of avoid most of the story stuff, because really what everybody wants to talk about is the performances and the mechanics behind it, and just the distillation of the concept of a JRPG down to its perfect simplest formula. And that is, you get to go in, you fight monsters here and there, you level up your people, but the fact that you can parry and dodge and do moves, I mean, it's not like it's never been done before. We have our Paper Marios and your Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga series and plenty of others at this point, but I would say that this is one of the best executions of it. Everybody keeps talking about it as the JRPG for people that hate JRPGs. I would say that there is part of that is true, and that's one reason for its massive popularity. Because, I mean, everybody loves their HD graphics, of course. But the fact that this can be done on such a shoestring budget by comparison to modern AAA games and look just as good as all of them. Really gives me hope personally when we've been just having year after year of layoffs and misery and people who have grown up with this industry really wanting to work in it only to get axed before their work even gets out of an NDA so they can never even discuss it. So this overall brings a smile to my face. I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Alejandro if he has anything to continue adding to that.
Wait, Paul, I have a question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
You said in our Discord chat that you had switched it into story mode, right?
Mhm.
Difficulty, yeah.
Story difficulty, yeah. How was that for you? Because I have a friend who loves JRPG like games, and because he really loves their story, but he is super not into difficult games, and he didn't know that there was a story mode in this. And I actually mentioned that a friend of mine had done it in story mode, and I think that it was good for him in that way, and he still got to experience it. And so that actually made him re-interested in the game after he'd taken it off of his list. So I want to hear you talk about the story mode for people who may be a little put off by the concept of it being challenging.
Yeah, great question. And I would absolutely say that that helps a lot. And that's, I think, one other contributing factor to how popular it is, because I think a lot of people who are not good with it will probably hit their first wall, enemy boss, bump down the difficulty, and then realize that they can just keep going through. I will say it does not remove all of the challenge, which I think is one of the positives of it, because one of the worst things you want in a JRPG is absolutely no challenge, because you get bored out of your mind, unfortunately. So all that is to say, the active participation of the dodges and the parries are absolutely still there, and if you get hit, you definitely still do take a lot of damage. However, grinding is certainly a possibility if you ever do hit something. However, I never had the need to go
level up,
to go grind or anything. Even at the last part of it, all I had to do was switch around some of the pictos, which are the skills for anybody not knowing, some of your passive abilities, and I was able to clobber just about everything in my way with, I mean, like, how do I describe it? As like, you have to not fall asleep to finish the game, but at the same time they do not as much damage to you, to the point where you're not just sweating bullets every time you're trying to dodge things. But I think the best part of it is that it widens the ability to parry, and dodge so open that it really makes you feel like you are crushing those perfect reactions, even if you might be kind of far away from it. And certainly you can just stick to dodging only, which is the widest margin, and you will be able to kind of glide through, at least not take damage, and then slowly chip down enemies if that's what you want to do. However, I think it gives you plenty of XP to stay at a good pace all the way through.
Yeah, TLDR for story mode would be like, you get more damage towards enemies, you receive slightly less damage towards you. The parry window and the dodging window is bigger. So.
Yes.
Okay. So now to bring it over to Alex, because Paul was going to pass it to Alex. My question for you, Alex, Mr. Platinumer, is the platinum available in story mode for
yes, there is
wimps?
There is no difficulty trophy for this one. You can do it all in one playthrough.
Cool.
So, unless you miss out on an old key at the beginning.
Yeah, I heard something about that. That's so stupid. That makes me want to punch a window.
Yeah. But it's,
however,
it's literally in the opening 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah,
so it's really not a big deal.
If you miss it, you just
so annoying.
Start a new run, and in the first 10 minutes after skipping the intro cutscene, you could probably just run over and grab it real quick.
Yeah, it's in 3 vendors right before the journey begins. So just go get that key and then you're set. There's no missing.
Okay, well that's good at least.
To be fair, I only missed it myself because you're supposed to beat a fairly simple test tutorial fight, and I failed it because I was still trying to figure out the dodge and parry systems,
and you didn't realize you could rematch. And you didn't realize you could rematch.
Yeah, I didn't realize I could just talk to the person again and do it right then. So I just walked on and then didn't have one of the currency that I was needing for that last item. So that's on me, honestly.
Yeah. But you're not gonna platinum it. Basically, that key is only for anyone that wants to platinum it.
I've learned the only thing that happens when I platinum is I usually hate whatever I just spent all that time platinuming.
Yeah.
There is one exception, and I think that was Ghost of Tsushima for me personally.
That was the last Spider-Man 2. You platinum that one too.
I don't think I platinum Spider-Man 2. I platinum Spider-Man 1. Did I?
Mm-hmm. It's in the Escape account.
I'm convinced my brain is in Alejandro's body or something. I don't remember
I own
anything that I do.
I'm in you.
All right, now moving on.
No, but I did platinum Expedition 33, and the only reason why I platinumed it, because I wasn't planning it originally, was that people started posting about a nuke build that then suddenly like the devs were like, hey, yeah, this build is like nuking everything, we're gonna patch it out. So I was like, oh really?
Well, you could have switched it to story mode.
No, but that's the thing. There are some very hard bosses, like in post game, like very, very, very hard ones.
They're designed with like 4 billion HP and stuff because
exactly.
of that.
And this nuke build could like one shot them because it was that much damage what it was doing. So I was like, I just gonna get this build and just nuke everything and just speed run through it, and that's how I like platinumed it. Because at first I was like, this is gonna take me a while, and then suddenly I was like, this was much easier than I expected, and probably not the intended effect for like a post game, but
yeah. And to address the whole idea that, because everybody, including myself's first reaction when you hear that something's getting nerfed in a single player game is, what the heck? Why are you touching something that is totally fine? In this situation, there are many story interactions that are extremely crucial in the middle of boss fights, either at the end of an act or in the middle of it at a pivotal point.
I gotcha.
And if you one-shot the enemy, you miss all of that dialogue and extra events going on in the story.
But the fix to that usually, Paul, is just put a hard, like, a stop.
Like no, but that's the point of the game.
If it doesn't have it, it doesn't have it.
Exactly.
Right. There's actually a story thing that happens at the end of Act 2 that removes your limiter for damage, very specifically and very purposefully. In addition to the story connection to that. So that you can fight these crazy broken bosses. The problem is that when you're one-shotting all of it by like, this is like that whole what's the difference between 1 million and 1 billion? Because like if you're doing several million damage, you're still perfectly fine without that, because you can make everybody an insane broken character regardless of this one specific weapon and this one specific skill. But because people are trying to gravitate only to that, they're skipping over all of the other really cool, actually creative things you could do, because all they're doing is enter, fight, one skill, that's it, it's over, and you're kind of stopping the whole game from being able to play. And then of course the story side of it, when you're missing a lot of that really crucial dialogue between some of these characters. Just
so they have dialogue mid-fight. That's interesting.
Yeah, they didn't create like you know how some in other games, in some boss fights, like they would kind of like hard cap it at a specific point to kind of let a cutscene play
that's
out.
what I was saying.
This like so overtook like the damage that they had initially like allocated for the fight, that just lets you skip like so many phases. Actually, like I've been watching a streamer Brevon. She's playing through the game and she just went through the second Axon fight. That's all I'll say. And she's playing on normal, but she already created a build with her magician, which is Mael, that nuked her, and she completely skipped like the final part of that game as she was like halfway through. I was like, what? And then she showed, I'm playing on normal. This build is nuts. I was like, man, she missed one of the coolest parts of that battle because she nuked it. So
yep. And it must be something to do with the way they coded it, because of how much they purposely tried to let people kind of get crazy with the damage, to make me think that it wasn't as simple as a process to just limit how much damage you could do for the story segments. That's all I can think, because for some reason that was an easier solution for them.
Yeah, because I was thinking like what Alex said, where you just have the hard cap, where like even if you did like 1 billion damage, you would still only go to 50%. Because like, I mean, World of Warcraft has that on like raid bosses. Like that's been a thing in games for forever. I've seen that all the time, and usually it's annoying because I'm like, I just did so much damage and it didn't do anything.
But it makes me wonder if that's exactly why.
A game that's entire combat system is built around the ability of being able to break it, that's not a good idea, because at that point you're taking the complete control out of anybody's hand.
Right.
And like this one ability was broken clearly, but if you do what you're suggesting here, then what's the point of the character of the character build
Combat.
and all that stuff. Yeah, like it wouldn't work. The clear thing was to nuke this ability because it was just broken.
And to be fair, like they technically nuke it, but there's still ways to get back to like what it did, but it requires a little bit more work while allowing other builds to happen.
They didn't really nerf it. They just made it like take an extra step or two to actually use the mechanics.
Like extra 10, like an extra 10 steps, and extra like different things you can stack to kind of get the like what it was doing. That it was like just 6 steps and that was it. That you can like start a battle and immediately nuke everything. That's how I nuked the final boss, which can hit you 150 times in a row.
Oh, I remember the okay. Yeah. I hate that thing, and I don't know if I ever want to fight it. But another fun part is just to like kind of talk about how useful and unique the way of fighting can be in this game is that there is a skill combo called auto death. So when you start a battle, you instantly kill your character. But the cool part is there's another skill that says on character death, release a massive explosion. And so a lot of people will walk into a fight. It immediately kills your character, immediately sets off a chain reaction bomb that just kills everything on the field. And then you win the game. So there's a lot of crazy stuff that you really can do. It's hard to kind of describe it by saying, oh, there's a lot of creative things. It's not just you unlock this skill that does 1.5 extra damage or whatever.
But to be fair, it's for end game stuff. Like you can only get like very late in the game. You cannot get like a broken build as you're going through.
Well, that's where we go back to the classic Final Fantasy process, where you absolutely can in like the third act of any Final Fantasy game and get completely broken. You can go after the really crazy busted Emerald weapon,
except 8,
Ruby
right?
weapon. I think so. I didn't finish all of 8 personally, but
Emerald would be 7 though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Okay.
I was just saying 8's the one that you can't really do that because you can't out level things because it all scales.
Yeah, from
I think
like
we lost Paul.
Oh no, we lost.
Alex, I want to ask you: Do party members get experience if they go down and you beat a boss?
Yes.
A lesser, I believe, but yes, they do.
Yeah, lesser, but they do. And your party members that are not on the field also get XP. Also lesser, but you're always kind of like they're probably 1 or 2 levels behind if you don't like swap them all in. So
I always like in games where you can like get a trait or an item that gives you full experience if you don't get it naturally. I think Like a Dragon had that where unless you got up to a certain relationship level, your characters only earned a portion of the experience. And I remember I was using characters I didn't really want to use just because until they got up to that certain relationship level or whatever it was, because I don't want anyone to fall behind. So I only put characters that had the level in the back end of the party. So yeah. And this game doesn't have like the equivalent of like the Dragon Quest like Metal Slime that if you kill that slime like give you like a shit ton of it's a shame.
Yeah, so but the game is pretty generous with XP. Like it's kind of like I was saying that it's just to play it normally, unless you're wanting to platinum, which is kind of like where you're gonna get those brick walls with some of the boss fights. Like this is one of the cleanest JRPGs that exist, where you barely ever have to grind, like at all, even on normal difficulty. Obviously, you have to kind of get at least good at dodging. Rick kind of, I think, I don't know when Rick told you that one time that there's kind of like a window there that
I understand the window, the perfect and the right. Yeah.
So if you're,
do you need to grind for the bonus bosses?
A little bit, but I didn't because of the nuke build that I did.
And your nukes.
Yeah, it was like, hey, if it's there and if you want to platinum, you gotta take cheats. That's why I didn't
nuclear deproliferation.
Yes, but I did review the game. It's up in the side, like it's up over in Season Gaming. This is a game that I'm desperate to be able to join a spoiler cast to just talk about it because.
What did you end up giving it? I don't remember.
9.5. Yeah, so I deliberately, and then when I wrote the text and how I read it, I was like, yeah, this is a 9.5. And Elu, my editor, agreed with that. And very spoiler free for a spoiler phobe like our editor is. That's actually, you know this, Joe. Like there's a big like, Rick, if you think Joe is like sensitive about spoilers, you have not seen SG. Like how annoying that is.
Specifically Elu. Yeah, Elu is the worst.
That's insanity. I don't know how game mechanics are considered spoilers.
Yes. But... Or the fact that I'm literally telling you, hey, in Rebirth, you're pursuing Black Hoods. It's in the freaking trailer.
It's in the previous game.
Yes. And that was considered a spoiler, and they had me edit that out. I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?"
Yeah, you should not have. That should have stayed.
Exactly.
It literally is the point of the game.
Yeah. So the fact that he told me that the review that I wrote like completely was like spoiler free for him, I was like, okay, that's kind of the feat. It was also one of my shorter reviews. Like I tend to like write like 3,000 plus word behemoths. So before like Paul tries to rejoin us, he just texted me like something happened with the internet. Rick, what else have you been playing? I know you've been playing Doom, and I know you've been playing Star Wars. In and out, plus many other different things. Anything you want to say?
You actually didn't say the one I thought you were going to say. I also have been playing over the last couple of days Roadcraft because.
Oh, I think I saw it like yesterday in that. When I see you play.
Well, you saw it yesterday and you saw it the day before because I took a little trip to New Zealand. Right? Yeah. No, actually 3 days ago I took a trip to New Zealand, and Monday evening I played it.
Nice.
How was New Zealand? It's very pretty there.
I don't know. I never left my room. But I used I used a little portal and made my way there.
All right, I'm back.
Yeah, and Paul is back, but Eric's gonna telling us about Roadcraft right now, Paul.
A portal, more like a portal.
I'm leaving. See ya. Yeah, so Roadcraft. Obviously very early. I mean, I imagine just like SnowRunner and Expeditions and all that before, it's a game that's going to take quite a bit of time. But I am pretty impressed with what I've played. It simplifies a few things that the Spin Tires / Mudrunner / SnowRunner / Expeditions series kind of were always built around. For example, a major part of those games, obviously, is the terrain traversal, which is still there in this one. But another thing is specifically like resource management. Like a major part is not damaging your vehicles and maintaining your fuel or making sure you have a fuel truck with you or something to that effect, right? There's no vehicle damage in this, and there is no fuel at all. You can still flip over your vehicle, however, you don't have to run out of fuel, stuff like that, because in the long run it makes sense, because the idea here isn't so much you're traveling long distances and stuff like that, like you are in those, and Snow and Mudrunner, you're actually hauling things. Here, it's more built around the idea of maintaining a disaster restoration company. And like the very first level, which is like your little mini training map, you're trying to prepare this. I think it said it's South Africa, this little harbor town or whatever from an incoming storm. So it kind of teaches you the basics of setting up, of moving your vehicles around and setting up, convoys they call it, which is how you transfer things from one building to another or whatever. And it teaches just the very, very basics. And then at the end, it has you use like a crane to set up the storm wall and stuff like that. And then the next first true map is that same map, but on the other side of the river, because the storm destroyed everything anyway. But it has some pretty surprising in-depth like terrain deformation, which is cool because that obviously fits with the theme here. And I have gotten to a point now where the terrain is more muddy and difficult to traverse for the convoys, and the convoys are vehicles that you do not control yourself. It just pilots them over, and basically like you create their pathing and all that.
But so you are literally crafting roads.
In some cases, yes. I'm not making a road as of yet, but yes, there are points where you do. In this case, though, they are going along dirt, mud, whatever, that they have a difficult time getting through because they're either trucks that are not built for off-road, or they're some little vehicle that gets stuck in mud and stuff like that, right? So it actually teaches you in this map about using your dump truck to actually get sand, pour sand, and then you get your bulldozer and you actually fix it, smooth it out so that they can traverse it. This all sounds boring and stupid. I assure you, it's not as boring and stupid as it actually sounds.
I mean, I liked American Truck Simulator for a good few hours, so
we're fans of Death Stranding.
Yes,
you could definitely.
I have long said that if you somehow took the vehicle movement of SnowRunner and the terrain traversal of Death Stranding, you would have the single best traversal game ever made, and nothing else would be even close.
I think I 100% agree with you, because one of the few things that I'm not a huge fan of is the mechanics and physics of the vehicles. For Death Stranding, that is.
Oh, okay. I was like, that's the whole point of the game.
No. Sorry.
Yeah. I agree with you. The vehicles were pretty bad in it, actually.
Yeah, I put 13.8 hours into American Truck Simulator, according to Steam.
Hey.
So
that's something.
I like that one. I played it for a little bit. I do like these better. I mean, still SnowRunner is my favorite, but also it has at this point 4 years of support behind it and extra content and stuff like that. But I've always liked the idea of having these trucks go through terrain that, they really struggle to get through, and you're hauling these giant ass things behind them, and it just looks cool, right? But here there is a little bit of that, but that's not the point. The point on this one actually is more dealing with the construction vehicles. And from the couple that I've used, like I said, you use one of the big like port cranes in that first one. The one that I'm at now, I forget what they're called, but the kind of cranes that pick up like the big cargo containers. You use one of those to move them around. And then I've used the dump truck. I've used the bulldozer. There actually is definitely literal road crafting in this. You do actually create roads. I have not gotten to where you do it yet, but it is there.
All I'm thinking, Rick, is it sounds like a grown-up version of the Tonka construction game.
That's actually exactly. Well, I don't know about that, but it is literally a game version of when you were a kid and playing in your sandbox. Like when they released that commercial, I'm like, that was really weird. And now that I played, I'm like, actually, that was way less weird than I thought, because that is what this is. It's basically playing out what you were imagining when you were playing in your sandbox as a kid, and I actually quite love it. It's considering the depth of the different kind of vehicles and stuff like that you use, there is a shocking amount of effort put into making them all feel different and move different, and genuinely actually kind of learning how to use them to use them most effectively and stuff like that. Like I said, I was flattening sand to make a smoother terrain, and that's not just as simple as dump sand and drive over it with the bulldozer. You actually do have to you want to flatten like whatever surface you may have screwed up yourself by then you want to dump the sand, then you got to smooth it through different passes and stuff like that. So there actually is some depth behind this. It doesn't seem like it's going to be quite as difficult as SnowRunner, and I think I did see a review that said that was kind of one of the complaints, is those games are built around being insanely difficult, actually, especially when you get to some of the later missions that you're doing and stuff like that.
Is there a win condition for the game overall, or is it just the mission you finish?
For Roadcraft?
I mean, the series in general. Like, beat the game?
Well, I guess technically, but there's always more you can do. So they do each have like main objectives, which when you complete those, that's how you, like in Roadcraft, for example, that's how you actually unlock the next maps and stuff like that. Like, I'm not far enough to tell you if it follows a linear path, but in SnowRunner, for example, it does not. When you first start up SnowRunner, it's been a while since I started it up for the first time, but I don't remember if it asks you where you want to go, or if it just throws you into Michigan, and then when you get to a certain point, that's when it's like, okay, now you can go to the other maps. Because as of now in SnowRunner, there's probably 16 different maps, something like that. And in SnowRunner, again, it starts. So I'll talk most about that because I've played by far the most of that one. It starts off relatively simple. Like, I was like, this isn't that bad. You're not taking things very far. I'm never getting low on fuel and stuff like that. But then when you start to get into some of the deeper ones, you start to have like different missions and objectives and stuff like that are overlapping. Like, you'll have to have completed this mission because that will result in building a bridge. But to build the bridge, you had to have done this one so that you can clear this debris. And then doing that will then open this one, that kind of thing, right? And then through SnowRunner, you would have, like I said, you have Michigan, right? Michigan is comprised of 4 separate maps. And they all have different connections to each other and stuff like that. So, but when you get to the last 2, like Drummond Island, I think is the name of one, and something, Island Lake or something like that's the other one. There is no garage there, so you cannot spawn straight into there. You have to spawn in one of the other 2 and make your way there. And in at least one of them, there's no like fuel station. So this is where you have to make sure you take like a fuel truck and stuff like that. And like it starts to get to the point where planning is what matters. And that's what MudRunner was built around. It was built around planning out what you were trying to do and stuff like that. SnowRunner, however, changed it into an open world game with a bunch of side quests and stuff like that in it. But they still found a way to actually make it feel like that same series. Now, like I said, I have not progressed far enough into Roadcraft to say if it works the same way, but I will say what I'm trying to do now involves building a bridge to get to some other thing. And to get there, I have to get concrete slabs. Well, there's concrete slabs all throughout the map. However, it would take an enormous amount of time to just go pick them up with the crane and bring them over. So here's where you kind of want to have like your convoy set up to go from the one place to transport the concrete slabs, right? However, the areas to get there are not exactly good for those kind of vehicles. So whether you're taking the time to fix it or doing things elsewhere in the map to make an easier path there, it's kind of all interconnected that way. As of this point, that's kind of the most complicated that I've seen it get, but I'm sure it does get more so later. I'm just not very far yet.
Sounds like I literally like the agency that they give you and how you're problem solving a lot of this.
Yes,
do you have a personal favorite out of that series?
SnowRunner by far, yeah.
Okay.
Now I never played Spin Tires, which was the original, but that was a PC game made by one guy. I probably would like it the least. I think most people have agreed that it is the least cool. However, it does have one thing about it that I wish was in other games. One of the maps apparently is the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, which I think would be awesome. So like I wish they would have somehow brought that into Mud Runner or something like that. But other than that, it's obviously by far the most simplistic of the series. But yes, SnowRunner by a mile is by far the most in depth. And I would say Expeditions is probably my least favorite because that one's less about doing anything other than just simply exploring a map. And I was kind of disappointed in that one, unfortunately.
I think it was Mud Runner that I got for free briefly through PlayStation Plus, and that was the one that I tried, and I was trying to back in the massive like trailer 18-wheeler that they had for me, and I was just like, it's just the whole game. Oh my gosh! But like there were parts of it that looked really interesting, like where you were really trying to tackle this really muddy road and trying to understand how to like get through the physics
that's where it gets awesome, is when you have to like really start to plan out. You're taking multiple vehicles because maybe your big rig will get snuck in the mud here, so you need something else that's big enough to just pull it through and stuff like that. Like, again, this all sounds stupid on paper, it really does, but in practice it's actually quite enamoring. And I always
have a podcast about video games. I'm pretty sure that's all we've got.
I always, it's a joke, but I actually mean it seriously. I always take it back to this Steam review of SnowRunner that I saw like a year and a half ago, and I told Clint about it. He cracked up, and I was like, "Yeah, that's perfect." I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but it said something like, "I spent 3 hours trying to transport logs, and tipped over." And then I had to explain to my dad why I was crying at 3 a.m. Best game ever. And I was like, that is the best way to explain this game, because it is infuriating at times, and yet it's the siren call that you can't ignore once it gets its hooks in you.
Like Death Stranding, basically.
Way more than Death Stranding, because Death Stranding really wasn't all that hard. But those games do get very, very difficult.
Yeah, even not much of the hardness, but kind of like the hooks, kind of getting into that loop. Like
the hooks from something mundane that you think this should not be fun, and 60 hours later you can't put it down.
Those two series, more than anything, this is not a joke, but they truly convinced it, like told me, like, don't just judge it by a basic explanation, because the reality is there might be a lot more to it than you think. And that's why I try to tell everyone when it comes to Death Stranding. I always say, I'm like, a game's not for everybody, but you will not know if you like it until you play it.
Yeah.
That is the only way you will ever discover if you actually like that game.
And then it just like won't let you go, basically. So, Doom, Paul.
Doom.
Oh man!
You beat it.
Yeah, I actually rolled credits on, I think, the second game of the year for me.
Literally.
Oh no, third, because Monster Hunter's in there. Yeah.
Okay. You beat
I had to think about that for a second.
So it works. Yeah, you roll credits for Monster Hunter.
So yeah, Doom. I'm gonna speak a couple of sacrilegious things, and then I promise it's gonna get better. Because I did not enjoy 2016. I did not enjoy Eternal. Please don't kill me, Rick. I'm hoping that I can go back to it at some point this year and then maybe change my opinion on that, because that's usually what happens with me. However, I will say that Dark Ages is another entry that I think has absolutely crushed it. I have enjoyed myself so much. The addition of the shield is so fun for me, because zipping around like a crack-addled Wolverine is not my choice of gameplay style. I play Titan in Destiny 2. I love just jumping straight in, and it never really made sense to me that you could like counter or parry some of the things that were really flying at you in previous Doom games, besides just you got to be faster than it. But in this case, the fact that you could just parry, you could defend, you could just dive straight into the absolute chaos that game throws at you, with, let me think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 12 different weapons, and 4 different melees, 4 different ways for your parry to have a passive effect, and just endless fun. I had to replay the game 3 separate times because one of them was we just started on Game Pass, and then we got it on PS5, and then my game hard just completely broke on me. I had a full despair moment, and somehow that did not make me burn out restarting it again on a higher difficulty, and then I rolled credits on that.
If I could interrupt you for 1 second, Paul.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just out of curiosity, we actually talked about this on last week's episode. Joe
Right.
and I did. Did you see anybody else that had that problem? Because I have not seen one other person other than you that had that.
I have tried Googling it.
Something very
I've
weird
looked it
happened to
up.
your version there.
Only my version.
Yeah.
I am so shocked that, I mean, Alejandro and I joke that my PS5 is cursed in some way because it does things that I have never seen from other people.
Have you played Returnal? Did it work?
No, I did not play
Yeah,
Returnal.
he did not play Returnal.
Enjoy it, but
you got to at least try Returnal to see if it bricks your console the way that it was bricking Ben Smith.
Yeah,
I think Ben Smith was the only one who was able to play it.
Yeah,
but...
he played it at work for Paul, but he played it later, not at launch. So it must have been
it was also a different console that he played it on too. It wasn't his original version.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about that. Anyway,
yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff that happens to my system, and usually it's just funny nonsense things. I already had to factory reset it once because of some weird thing going on, and this, I've never seen a game break so soundly. Unfortunately, auto save absolutely screwed me on this one because whatever broke, it was replicating, retrying to play previous missions. It was the same issue. I went back to the second mission where you pick up the saw at the start. It wasn't in the pod, and I couldn't move past that point. So I literally couldn't even replay easier previous levels if I wanted to. And it's funny because I thought it was on purpose at first, because I was on a level called the Ancestral Forge. So I was like, oh, they took your weapons away so you can do something cool to them. And then I realized that the difficulty hadn't lowered in the slightest, and I didn't have any passive abilities or ability to gain more ammo.
Oh, man.
So in the ability, it just in the middle of that situation, I just had like a pure moment of despair. Fortunately, the game is so fun that I ended up just blasting straight through it.
9 chapters, Paul.
Yeah,
think about it. It was 9
whole chapters. I was like almost halfway through the game.
Yeah, that's pretty far, damn.
Yeah. Another thing I found that I really enjoyed was changing the parry color to like this bright blue. Really enjoyed that actually, because the green I thought was like too perfect, and in hindsight now I'm like, man, that is just so fun to be able to change the stuff. What you got?
You tweak the projectile speed also?
No.
So
I have something to chime in on this as soon as you're done, Paul, because I have something I want to say.
Honestly, I was gonna say I love like the random little customization stuff that you can do, because I remember like back in the Battlefield days, you could change your cursor color and your crosshair and everything, and I feel like a lot of games kind of went away from that. Resident Evil 6 let you change your laser sight color, so that was just kind of like a little thing that kind of threw me back to that. What you got, Rick?
So, on last week's episode, when Joe and I were talking about it, I had said one of my biggest complaints as of that point was that Doom has always, as a series, been scalable in various ways, right? Like, you can make it fairly easy, or you can make it really hard.
Yeah.
And the Dark Ages did not have that very hard. Like I don't want it to be impossible, but I wanted it to be challenging, and it was frustrating me. I think I may have
frustrated that you weren't frustrated.
Yeah.
No, I was frustrated that it was boring. Because if you're just decimating everything with no pushback, that doesn't feel like Doom at all to me.
Right.
But I think I found out what it was. I've made some tweaks, and I kept trying to, like, I was like, I don't want to play it on Nightmare the first time. That's more of a second playthrough. But by id's own, acknowledgement, Ultraviolence is typically the difficulty they want you to play it on. That's kind of where they tune it.
Yeah.
But Ultraviolence was so easy on this, and I was like, what the hell? It's tough in 2016, and it's friggin' impossible in Eternal.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't have to be that hard. I thought more of a 2016 difficulty is where we wanted to be. But I started, and so I kept sitting on Nightmare, and I'm like, this is tougher than I want it to be because I'm dying in like 3 hits, and that's not really what I want either. So I tweaked with things, and I figured out what it was. I realized, like, I was thinking about the Mancubus's, which you encounter early in that game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they die really, really fast,
They
along
do.
with everything else. So then I noticed, I don't know how I missed this before. I noticed that there is a slider for the damage that you do to demons, and I turned it down to 50%, which is the lowest you can go.
Yeah.
Now it feels like Doom, because it's like I leave it on Ultraviolence, and I leave the sliders where they were for the most part. I turned down parry timing to the basic, but that's like saying you have a side of a barn to shoot at, and you lessened it by taking off 1 panel of wood, right? You still have the widest parry timing I've ever seen in my life. And then I turned up enemy aggression, but I did turn the damage to demons down to its lowest. And this time, I kept the pickup, whatever they call it, the pickup, whatever, like how much health it gives you when you pick it up.
Oh, yeah.
I kept that where it was, because I had turned that down, but then it wasn't fun because you were constantly out of ammo.
Right.
But doing this, I'm like, now this feels like Doom. This feels exactly like I want it to, and I'm really coming around on it now that I've done that.
Nice.
I just want to say, if you are somebody who likes Doom and is finding this too easy, try changing that, because like you don't have to change anything else. Just change that, and that might really make a big difference.
I was hearing that, and like the game speed were something that you could ramp up to really help it out. I'm one of those guys that likes to try to play the game as like it's dialed in for like a specific kind of audience.
The dev intended.
Yeah, that one, which is funny because I think the one that I had initially selected says this is the standard, but like you said, like the devs themselves are like, no, pick this other one that's much higher. And I think I did the one that's higher. So not Hurt Me Plenty, but whatever was higher than that.
That would have actually been Ultraviolence then, I think.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that's like, I follow along with the context clues of like the lore going on, and the Doomslayer to me is just a powerhouse machine of death, which doesn't strike to me as like I want to die in 3 hits. That's like I am going to murder my way through thousands of these things. And it's like a power fantasy more so than like a difficult thing, which is probably sacrilegious to most Doom fans. But
no, I would say power fantasy is exactly what Doom is, but it's a power fantasy with
challenge,
with you having that challenge to it. Yeah. Like it's one of those, you are insanely overpowered. Mm-hmm. But you're fighting things that are also overpowered, which balances it. And that was the problem. Is you had one side, but you didn't have the other here.
Right. And I think that's actually a big issue that I have with modern Wolfenstein, because it does the same situation, but you have to like sit back and pot shot and stuff because like everything else is way too fast. At least for Doom, you can dodge the projectiles, but Wolfenstein, you can't do that at all. But then stealth doesn't work either. So it's like, what do y'all want me to do? How do you want me to play this game? And I think Doom has dialed it in, and that's something I absolutely always respected. Even if my heart wasn't always in, like, I really don't want to dive into this. Kind of similar to when you see a Souls game that you're like, is really good, but I really don't want to hate myself and pour into that right now. But I think that this one really gives me the right tools defensively and through that parry that I think really make it something special for me. And I really hope genuinely that the shield stays around for any future Doom games.
Difficulties are Aspiring Slayer, then Hurt Me Plenty, then Ultraviolence. So you're right.
That's what I thought.
Cool.
Yeah, Hurt Me Plenty is usually the normal difficulty.
Yeah, that's like the standard.
And then
Ultraviolence is hard, and Nightmare is the highest. Yeah.
It's Nightmare, Pandemonium, and then Ultra Nightmare.
Pandemonium and Ultra Nightmare are just variations of Nightmare.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're annoying. They're very annoying.
Like, I mean, Ultra Nightmare is basically permadeath mode.
As far as since we're still talking about Doom, I did want to briefly talk about the direction, maybe not in the story, but the fact that there is more of a story. That was a very interesting choice for me because, as Alejandro were talking to me about, we said it was Warhammer meets Gears of War, where it's like clearly doesn't want to take itself too seriously, but everybody's playing it fully straight. It had some twists and turns that I really liked in a conceptual wise way. I'm still feel like they didn't justify the fact like we're in the Middle Ages, we're in the medieval side. We're also part of this weird super futuristic faction called the Sentinels, and you have guns.
Don't forget, you're not in the Dark Ages of Earth. You're in the Dark Ages of Argent D'Nur. That's why.
Yeah.
All right, so I didn't know that the whole time.
Yeah. Well, having not finished 2016, that's why you didn't know that. You're actually in a different like realm than what you are in the old game.
Well, that makes so much more sense. But man, that would have been nice to have a little bit clear.
To be clear, they did not explain that very well. Like even leading up to it, I was like, what kind of Dark Ages had shotguns and laser rifles? And then I realized I was like, oh, okay, you're an Argent D'Nur. That'd be why.
What is Argent D'Nur?
It's a separate realm, basically.
Yeah.
Is Doomslayer not human?
He is.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
You can't overthink it. Basically, at the end of was it Doom 64? I think is where he like just ends up in another. Like he ends up in like stasis and is pulled out of it in Argent D'Nur by the Makers is what they're called. They're kind of like evil heaven. I guess that's probably the best way.
That is a very
That's what I always found so funny of Doom 2016, that it canonized Doom 64, like legit. So.
Yeah, it's like evil heaven versus evil hell, and then you got Argent D'Nur in the middle of the two of them.
You got one guy that is just way too done with all of it, and that's kind of one thing I really appreciated, and that's one of my favorite parts of Doom 2016 is you can feel that despite zero dialogue from the Doomslayer, where he just like slaps stuff and hits things and pulls stuff down. Oh, it's wonderful.
Something I said to Alex, I think it was last week out. Yeah, because Doom was out. Yeah. I realized I actually have no Doom collectibles at all. I hope they do make a nice, not huge, but a nice statue of the Dark Ages version of the Doomslayer, because he looks freaking awesome in this game.
I think that might be like my favorite look for the Doomslayer overall, and I don't even care. They just the fur coat, man. The fur collar.
The fur coat, and actually, even though I'm not the biggest fan of the shield implementation, he looks cool holding the shield and the flail. Screw the stupid hand. The flail. Like they shouldn't even have they never even should have had the gauntlet in this game.
Oh man. I'm glad that you get the flail immediately after, and I never looked back. However, the third melee thing is what I ended up sticking with by the end of it, just because of the way it's like a slower, much heavier hit.
When do you get it? Because I only have the flail, which is the second one.
At least I'm gonna not remember, but it's probably like a last third kind of game, part of the game. But that was definitely my favorite part. And then I think it's past the halfway point that you get passives for the shield, and it does different things based on what you pair or how you parry. And I really like the implementation of that in a specific way. The first one I feel like was nothing. It just kind of adds a little earthquake passive when you parry something, but everything after that is much more interesting. At one point you get the Virgil flying swords, and some other stuff as well that I won't spoil, and that's only 2 of the 4. So
my description of this being kind of like a first-person Devil May Cry becomes more literal.
To an extent. It's definitely not a whole lot of like combo, but unless you like combo different guns. One thing that frustrates me, I will say, just so it's not just all glowing, you cannot defend while you are switching your weapons. So even if you've moved the wheel over and you're pulling your thing out, even though he's canonically only one hand wielding all of this, you cannot put your shield up. That's part of the risk and reward is like, all right, you're going to switch out. You got to plan ahead for that. But it is very frustrating when you're like, all I was doing was getting my shotgun out. Why can't I have my shield up still? But in any case, like just the sheer amount of options I really enjoy. This is definitely my favorite just from the whole case of that. I thought I would hate the dragon and robot sections more based on what people were saying, but I found that I didn't really mind it, honestly.
I didn't care for them.
I could have taken or left them.
I like the spectacle of the Atlan, particularly because, especially in Eternal, you see them everywhere. You see destroyed Atlans all over the place.
Oh yeah, that was definitely the one I enjoy more than the dragon.
Yeah, I could not stand the dragon. I thought that was really bad implementation, but
I don't like the way that it stops your momentum for sure.
Mhm.
I wish there was more actual flying around. We have so many like 30, 40 years of flying type games. Oh, wow, Alejandro, what you got?
I'm in chapter 9, so I've only played one dragon mission. Are all of them the same that you have to fly
It's
and
the same
stop?
concept.
God damn it.
And then you have to
Because I
get
love
off
flying.
at
Yeah.
different little zones, and then you get back on the dragon, you go to another area.
Yeah, just let me
Yeah.
dogfight. Like,
Yeah,
like
I don't understand why they made it that you have to hover in position. Like if you could even just
Do
ignore that
strafing
and just right, exactly. It actually might at least be tolerable then. But you literally can't do that because you can't
Yeah.
destroy those shields if you don't.
That is easily like the least favorite part of it. I'm more thinking about like in those later areas, especially. My favorite part is when they have those little demon ships, and you have to zip through the cities to
Yeah.
try to hit those. Those are fun.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, if you just like made this into a Rogue Squadron game for that little brief amount of time, I think that would make
I
it.
also wish you could actually do it in first person. I don't know why they only put you in third.
Yeah,
Like, it's
that's
Doom.
a fair point.
It's Doom. Doom should be first. Or at least give you the option to play.
They really want to show you those glowing
I
dragon
guess.
wings.
Yeah,
I
as
guess.
someone that struggled with Star Wars Squadrons being a first person, like a ship only combat is like I tend to like space fight when I can see the behind of anything. Even though I understand why you said of like it being Doom, keeping it Doom because it's still in first person in the robots. So
Right, that's kind of
give me cockpit mode every day of the week.
right. That was a complaint that I had even for the Indiana Jones when it's like, all right, you're doing the parkour, we're gonna pull you into third person for some reason.
It
Just
was
leave
so
me in
bizarre.
first person.
Yeah, it was so bizarre.
At any case, I kind of want to move us forward because I want us to have at least a little bit of time to talk about some of our headlines, though we might kind of breeze through a few. So let's Alejandro, press X.
I have not talked about my game.
Oh, you haven't?
No,
You haven't? Yeah, you're
I have
right.
not.
All right, go ahead. Talk about your other game that we skipped
So
over.
don't press X.
Yeah,
Don't press X yet.
No, right now press circle or press
Yeah,
B.
just pause.
But yeah, one reason I didn't talk much about Doom: The Dark Ages was that I was playing it. I got to chapter 9, and then I got last week I got a review code for Blades of Fire, the new game from Mercury Steam, the guys that recently made Metroid Dread, and before that the Castlevania Lords of Shadow series. So when you look at this game, it's like, oh, it seems that they're trying their attempt, just like Lords of Shadow was like their attempt at an old school God of War. It's like, oh, this is probably their attempt at the modern God of War with a little bit of Souls-like, which, hey, it's like every action game has to kind of be that. But I was like, I tend to have fun with Mercury Steam's games. I know that they're not like the Metroid Dread aside, which I really love. Like, I tend to enjoy those games fine. And the one thing I'll say about Blades of Fire is that it makes a good first impression by doing at least something different with its combat. It looks like God of War and Souls-like, but it's its own thing. It's more like another expression of For Honor combat, where it's like it's all about positioning and where you strike an enemy depending on how they're like either positioned or where their vulnerabilities are, and you can feels still rather arcadey. You can like mash any of those 4 buttons depending on what is your opening, and has like a chunky feel to it that's kind of satisfying. This is me gonna take a stand against developers that know they have a good thing, but when it's surrounded by a bland story, shitty characters, an art style that before would have been pretty but feels pretty generic. It's like an art style that takes the vibes of the art style from Lords of Shadows and marries it to fantasy slop, like an art style that you've basically seen in many times, and you make a game that's longer than 50 hours. Fuck off. Like, seriously. Like, this game, like, if this game was so much shorter,
I had no idea it was that long. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's the thing that's insane. That's insane, because it's like I would have enjoyed this if this had ended 30 hours ago. It's still going, and the worst part is that its story feels like Temu God of War. Like your character, like literally, it's like your character Aran is kind of like you could say that he's the Kratos. Like your companion, which I forget his name because I just want to chuck that dude into a fire.
It's like Atreus.
It's like the Atreus that reads like helps you read.
That's why I said Betrayus, because he's Atreus.
That's actually a really good one. It's actually a really good one. It's like there's like this ghost that's literally Mimir. There's like this like witch that's literally Freya, and it's like it's so blatant. But with God of War's at least sense of place, sense of story, sense of emotional resonance. Like, it's so simple potato salad. And it's like, look, I don't need all my games to be like this highly resonant stories and all that. Like Doom is a stupid story, like all things considered, and it's awesome in its stupidity and it's over the top. Now it's like any game can be like anything, but it's like this game is just narratively nothing. It doesn't feel like nothing. Like even lore wise, it's like the lore is so generic. It was so funny, like again, because we talk about Hogue all the time. He was so excited when he played them because he saw the codex. And that's why I was like thinking, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Really, like if you would see that it amounts to nothing. It's like poor world building. It's like it's so such a generic pastiche of things that a strong core in its combat, it's not helping me like carry the weight in a 50 to apparently 80-hour game. And that to me it's like insane, because it's like it's just so like a game this mediocre shouldn't be this long. It's making me feel
that is
worse.
wild that it's that long. That is double the length it should be.
Yes. Like remember how long Lords of Shadow was? It was like 12-15 hours. That was perfect for Lords of Shadow back in the day. Obviously Lords of Shadow 2 sucks, but the first one was good. It's like, why do you have to make a game this long? Like even Metroid Dread, a game that you can beat in 8 to 10. It's like that. It felt so good.
In what world did it take 8 to 10 to beat? That game was like 4 hours long, wasn't it?
If you knew, no, like Metroid Dread, if you knew how to do it, you could get it in 4. Like people like speed running when you know all of that. Like Paul, I think beat it in 7-8, like 4 years ago, Metroid Dread. And yeah. So it's like you come from these games that are tighter, and then you make a game that's just so damn long that is like, I like the combat a lot. At first I was like, but eventually gross. Like the weapon variety is really great. The enemy variety is super cool. It's like it's a little annoying doing the thing where you're like, I have to build a weapon, so you kind of have to like you get into like this mini game where you kind of have to dodge and get some meters in as you're kind of like building it. But eventually you get into the nuance. It's actually pretty satisfying. You feel like the weapon that you craft, you feel really personally attached to. You can even name it. I named one Joe just out of funny. Like it's a literal like sledgehammer. So like I'm like sledgehammer.
That's
like,
me.
Could you paint it red?
You can't paint it, unfortunately.
Oh,
I wish you. I wish you could.
Wait, how do you craft something you can't change its color?
Yeah, it's weird. Maybe like depending on like I hadn't really not noticed if maybe like some materials you get gives it color, but there's no like customization.
Yeah, like Eternal Strand style.
Mm-hmm. Like Eternal Strands is like that's one of the coolest things with Eternal Strands. Any item that you get could like change the color patina of that game. But it's like it's just a great combat system that is like holding the weight of a really mediocre game. Like around it. That I feel would have been a good game if I was done with it 30 hours ago. At this point,
what's the how to put this, like level design like? Like are you constantly revisiting the same areas, or are you moving forward a lot, or
it feels like someone tried to do the From Software style of like world exploration with a little bit of a map, but map sometimes very unreadable, and sometimes some world exploration requires very specific interactions of sometimes a companion that is with you that you have to be standing at a very specific time for this ghost to suddenly be like, I remember this part. Hey, that wall wasn't there. And then you can like, but even though you could get there without that ghost there and could have smashed it, but it's like you had to wait for the ghost to kind of like say that. So it's like, because it's so specific, I was like running around. Because there's like no waypoints in this game other than the ones that you kind of put in the map to guide you. But it's like I said it in our chat yesterday. It was like, if you're like directionally challenged, this game is cancer, like literal cancer. Like you're gonna be like very confused, like moving through, moving through like this world. Because I was like, I feel a lot of the added time that I spent with this world is because I've been like turned around. I'm like, where the frick am I supposed to go?
Compare that issue to Expedition 33 that doesn't have a map that people are saying should have a map and get lost.
Yeah, Expedition 33, it's a linear game at the very least. So it's like at least you can like you get turned around because of the high level of detail can sometimes blend together, and then suddenly you're like there's the underwater the water sky level of Expedition 33. The second level is like that's like the level that you can like, get turned around easily. Because kind of like everything kind of looks the same. It's like, oh, I'm going back to where I came. So you get into those problems, but at least there's a logic of linearity. And when you're out in the overworld, it marks you like with a big X. Go here if you need to go. And then it's like, okay, gotcha. I know where to go. And this game doesn't tell you anything about that. It's
say I wanted to ask you about that crafting that you described there a little bit because I heard that it's actually kind of fun. Like that, I
Yes.
heard some positive things about the crafting system. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's like you earn weapons by killing just killing enemies that can also respawn when you go to like a safe spot, because it's a soul, like the soul's inspiration is there, where it's like you rest and some enemies respawn. After you kill a certain amount of weapons, it can give you like the weapon mold to kind of for you to craft it. So like I've been able to craft like a big pole arm, I've been able to craft like a big like war axe that's so satisfying. I crafted like double axes that have given me a sense of speed that feels really good when you're like facing off against sometimes 10 enemies at once and you're kind of like just like slashing and comboing around. Obviously you kind of have to grind up that number. Whenever you kill an enemy, it tells you how many you need to kill to unlock their weapon. And since you know that they respawn, you can be like, okay, I'm gonna go rest and go back here, I'm gonna kill them again, go here, go until you like finally unlock it, and then you can go build a weapon where in that weapon you can kind of like modify the shape of the top, if it's curved, straight, like if it's gonna do more damage through a swing or through a stab or whatever other material you can put it that gives him more, makes it more sturdy. So it means that when you block with that weapon, it's not gonna like get too damaged. There's a lot of weapon durability in this game. That's one thing that initially I wasn't on. I was like, yeah, everything in this thing can eventually break, but this is not a Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild like fragility that after like after 4 times it can like break. But it feels like ammo that you're using when you're constantly like using this weapon, and depending on how you build them, because there's like a star system when you're building these weapons. If you do the mold correctly, as it kind of guides you in that mini game, you will earn enough stars, and if you have enough stars, if your weapon breaks, you can repair it to like its max capacity like at certain times. Like think about it, like each weapon has lives, and if you build it correctly, it can last you for a little bit. And even if it breaks, you can go then recycle those materials and then go build another weapon that's exactly like the one you did, and maybe at that point you already got new materials that makes it even better. It's like that loop, that combat loop and that weapon loop that I feel is like if people can forgive the general vanilla blandness of almost anything else about the game, I feel that is the thing that if they can hone in on that, I feel that's kind of where you can find your enjoyment, as long as you understand that you're in here for the long haul. So that's kind of like it's kind of what I keep saying, is that some games just need to know like what they have and just know when to quit. This is longer than God of War. That's nuts.
That's crazy.
that's really nuts.
Those games should be coming close to that kind of playtime.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that you wanted to share about it, Alejandro?
Yeah,
like
it's just
overall
it's just
score, or the fact that you wrote a review on it, or anything?
Yeah, I have not written it yet because I haven't finished it. I've been like trying to see if I just write an impressions piece and just write a scathing impressions and be done with it, because it's like I'm at this point where I'm like, just end already. Like, just end already. But because I committed, so it's like I kind of have to see it through. But it's like the reviews are already out. They gave us code really late. There's many outlets that haven't even posted their review. GameSpot, Game Informer haven't even posted theirs. IGN did theirs and gave it a 5. Kind of gave it, but Eurogamer gave it 4 out of 5. And
do you agree with the 5, or do you think that's a little low?
Initially, I was agreeing like wholeheartedly percent, and then I started liking the combat a little more. That I was like, if it was for me, probably a 6. But we'll see. Like maybe the ending suddenly like surprises me. Who knows? But it's like I'm just so ready to be done with it, and that to me is like not. Anytime that I want a game to be over, that's when I know that I'm already like in a bad place.
Yeah, I think that some games are just really long. Like you're just ready for a game to end, even if you love it. Like I loved KCD 2, but by the time I was done with KCD 2, I was like, okay, I'm good. Same with Shadows. Like, you know, you put 100 hours into these games. It's okay to say I really like this game, but I've played it too much.
But to be fair, with those 2 games, you were not reviewing it too, so it's like you're doing it on your own, like at your own pace. So
yeah, but I mean, aren't you doing this at your own pace? So you're not really rushing this game because it's already out.
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to see like if I can at least get this review under my belt. It's just kind of like I see the diamond that's there, because this combat, I would love more people to do more of this combat, because it's not a soul like, it's not shoulder attack souls like, it's like it's the opposite of For Honor. I'm like I'm down for someone like to find unique way to paint a brush on different combat systems, because action games have become so enveloped in a one style of game, and unfortunately this game still has a lot of that with the red system and the spawning enemies. Though thankfully this game doesn't have like currency that you lose when you get killed. The only thing you drop when you get killed is one of your weapons, but that weapon stays there even if you die. So it's like it's not like, okay, it's weapons there and you're going to go rush to go pick it up, but then you kill on your way there. And this is like what happens with Souls game, that if you die, if your souls were there, it's like those are gone. They don't do that, at least. So it's like it still has air of Souls like, but it's not going all the way there. But the elements are there that if people make the comparison, yes, you're gonna roll your eyes, but the comparisons are there. What else can you do with that? But I hope that this combat system eventually evolves. Maybe they're gonna Mercury Steam, make a Castlevania game and put this combat system in there. Like literally, it's like
this could be cool in a Castlevania game.
Yes,
actually.
Yes, and there's so much of the art style that that it's like how can I say this? That reminds me of Lords of Shadow. It's just kind of like that. That Lords of Shadow's art style works so well at a darker aesthetic. This one's just too bright and too cheery. Yay! I'm writing. Fuck that kid. Well. Yeah, so far I'm at a 6. So it's like if you want to try it, try the demo, and I would say that demo makes a good impression. Again, it's just, will that impression last you for 50 plus hours? Wait for a sale. Paul, time for headlines.
Yes, it is, and I'm thinking we're gonna read through them and then make some comments at the end. You think?
Yeah.
All right. So we've got quite a few today. We've got Santa Monica Studios' new IP is a sci-fi title. Jeff Grubb announced that Santa Monica's new IP is a science fiction title and has been in development since 2018. He also mentioned that the game will be revealed soon. He did mention he heard there is a PlayStation event, in quotations, planned for June.
Yeah, basically kind of like everyone's like, okay, will there be a state of play or a showcase? Because we never know with Sony because there's no consistency with them. But
Sci-fi IP Take Two also, second attempt.
We're getting another. It's definitely going to be the same trod talks comparing it to Intergalactic now, but I am glad that at least we're getting a huge departure from God of War in their whole
they tried it and then failed. Remember, that's what their last new IP was that got canceled. So
that's
like,
2014.
Try again.
Yes.
And then moving forward, what you got?
But though this one is the one that Cory Barlog is directing. So it's like he obviously he proved that he could do it with the God of War 2018. So maybe that's So they were like, okay, maybe the guy that took us into like new heights with the 2018 game can help us launch the new IP that we couldn't, because that was a dream of them trying to diversify that studio beyond being God of War, even though they still want to continue with God of War. But if it's gonna be like revealed soon, it's like it's like this is like the only game from like a known studio from Sony that we don't know about, because I feel everyone else, other than the big cancellations that we know, like that we assume for games from like last week that Jade Raymond Lee, that's also gonna be in the chopping block. It's like this is like the one more of what we know of the studios that will announce anything and then we know their entire slate. Insomniac Wolverine, Naughty Dog Intergalactic, Housemarque Saros, now this one. So and that's pretty much it basically, because that's kind of where we are with first party. But it's like
Gorilla and Horizon.
Yeah, but it's like that's more like a sequel, and we know that would have been happening either way. But then from unknowns, they were the only ones before we knew all these cancellations. So when do we
Second
see this?
headline?
Go for it.
We have Nintendo considered lowering their resolution and frame rate for Mario Kart World before changing development to Switch 2. They say Mario Kart World has over 100 courses if you include all possible variations.
They also confirmed that the VRR is not in the TV mode. It's only in handheld.
It's only in handheld mode for some reason.
Everything I hear about Mario Kart World is like the weirdest thing, with all of like their side quests and all of the strange things that you can do with that. I'll be honest, I don't know if any of it's really moving the needle for me, but it's going to continue being a great.
Well, you got it coming, Paul.
Yeah, I got it coming, and
because you bought him the bundle.
Yeah, I got the bundle.
So at least I have that, and I've got a couple of little guys that hang out with Emrys now, so they're gonna have the time of their lives with that one. I tell you,
they better not break your Switch 2 though.
They better not. I agree. I'm debating if I'm even going to let them know it exists. But anyway,
you gotta just give them a controller and have them play on the TV. Just don't do the handheld mode.
Smart
for little kids. Yeah.
Then we have the Oblivion Remastered, what it was April's best-selling US game. Forza Horizon 5 leapt from 42nd to second due to the PS5 release. I saw a few of these where like the Indiana Jones jumped up to like was
number
it third
6
or
Yeah,
fourth?
no, it was
six,
fourth.
Sorry.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
fourth.
was it? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Hey, look at that. I remember
It's
something.
almost like if you release games on a platform that there are people who use it, you'll sell more.
Yeah, what was it? There was another thing done at one of the latest conferences, and it said that like 41% of gamers are on PlayStation, and
GDC.
it's GDC. Thank you. And then everything else like PC was right behind that, and then Xbox was far lower, and then Nintendo was even further behind that. So it just goes to show you need to do some diversification out there if you're gonna keep that going. But I mean, hey, props to Oblivion for crushing it, coming back out of here. Woo.
The Trojan horse worked for Microsoft. They infiltrated their enemy's base and they're dominating their sales charts.
Another Xbox win, kind of tying this into the previous headline, was that Doom: The Dark Ages, id Software's biggest launch ever, amassing 3 million players in 5 days. So this kind of
Game Pass,
merging all this back in. Yeah, because this says players, of course, but I mean, still, hey, that's a lot of people, and
you buy it on PS5 too, so it's like it's a mix. So
really, just clearly their gambit is paying off, and I guess we'll see one day if Xbox is actually making any money on all this with owning everybody and then outsourcing it all. Next is
and I will just say, if you're only on Xbox and have Game Pass, man, you've been eating really good and really cheap.
Very much. Next thing is that Avowed's director quits Obsidian for Netflix. Now, Alejandro, I kind of asked you what the background for this is. Like, why would somebody voluntarily leave Obsidian and go over to Netflix gaming?
Money.
You had an answer. Well, okay. Well, you had a better answer than just that.
Also, to be fair, leading up to Avowed's release, she did a lot of previews with various different outlets, and they did a few of them did ask if she was going to be working on Outer Worlds 2, and she said no. So it did seem like this was almost planned ahead of time. Maybe not like way in the past, but like
you
clearly.
You work as game director for a huge project like this, especially one that had some troubles in development, a long dev cycle. It makes sense that you want to leave, and she's been there a long time, and getting a fresh start. And then Netflix always pays. I mean, everything from their like bottom rung people to lawyers, like they pay a lot of money. Netflix is a huge paycheck if you go work for Netflix, if you can get in there.
Yeah, she was probably like 5 to 6 years in this project, because like obviously we know that it was like a semi reclamation of like what it ended up being, because the game we got is not the game that originally was being planned. You got to like reboot it twice. So you go over all of that can be pretty tiring, on top of being a long time tenure, because what else did she work on, Joe? Do you remember?
She did the Pillars game. She was that's why in the review that I did for Avowed on Season Gaming, check it out. The writing credit and is hers in both games. Like she did a huge chunk of writing for Pillars 1 and 2, and has a very good grasp of that world. Probably the closest to what Josh Sawyer has is the man behind the studio there in those games.
Yeah. And because Joe mentioned it, he reviewed About, gave it an 8.5. He reviewed Dragon Age of the Veilguard, gave it an 8.5. The director of Dragon Age of the Veilguard also left. So, fantasy developers, if Joe reviews your game, you know that your director's out the door soon.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do?
The kiss of death.
I liked one of those games and not the other.
Yeah.
For this next batch of headlines, I'm going to go ahead and read through all of them, and then we can kind of make a couple comments on how whichever ones really speak to us.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk 2077 sequel features a second city that feels like Chicago gone wrong, reveals the creator. Nintendo will be attending Gamescom 2025. Probably a lot of talk about for that. Hideo Kojima reveals the next espionage game, Fizzant, is 5 to 6 years away. Injustice 3 could be in development, according to Multiverse's data miner. Xbox's Hellblade 2 is officially coming to PS5 this summer with PS5 Pro enhancements to the celebration of Nobody with Taste. I love that. Just making me read that. Fortnite is back on the iOS App Store in the US after nearly 5 years, and Borderlands 4 will seemingly cost $80 because Randy Pitchford is a douche. Once again, making me read.
You're welcome.
All right. Does anybody have anything to share about any of these? Just kind of throw some tomatoes.
Okay.
Before we wrap
Couple
up.
things I'll do quick. Feels like Chicago gone wrong. Chicago has gone wrong, so it's just gonna feel like Chicago.
I was gonna say maybe it's like Chicago, but good, if you can even imagine what that would look like. That's all I can think about it means.
Nintendo at Gamescom, please Nintendo, please announce a 3D Mario game for this year so that my fantasy team doesn't completely die with the Fable delay.
Yeah.
I don't care about Hideo Kojima. I don't care about Injustice. I don't care about Hellblade. Fortnite, I'm back on iOS. It is back on iOS. That's cool. Good for Fortnite, I guess. That whole thing was fun to watch, especially during COVID when there really wasn't much else going on in the world. And then Borderlands will be $80. To be clear, his comment was he doesn't control the pricing of it.
So it might not. He just made a really aggressive.
That wasn't the douche part. The douche part was the second part.
Real fans will find a way.
Right. I went and bought this game in the 90s for $80 and I worked minimum wage to do it. And I was like, buddy,
you don't do that.
We are already working like 2 jobs.
The amazing part is, like, you can say what he said and not sound like a total ass. All you gotta say is something like, yeah, I can't control it, but we're hoping to make something that, if it does come to be that price, you think is worth it.
Rick, that's kind of
all you have to say. That's it.
And Rick, he did at PAX. Why didn't you just tweet the video that you eventually tweeted as kind of like damage control of the PAX panel?
Because he's a douche. It says it right there.
Exactly.
It's written. It's canon.
I do just also want to say, because we don't have it on the headlines, PlayStation Stars comes to a close. They are ending the PS Stars program. That was not on here. I don't know if we missed that or not. But yeah, PlayStation Stars program ends. That's a pretty big deal because it was a rewards program. It's right. It's a rewards program. Xbox still has their rewards thing, even though they like nerfed it over the years to make it not as good. I never really cared for the PlayStation Stars approach. I thought the trophies were stupid, and the thought that you would spend the coins on digital collectibles instead of on the money that you could get was ridiculous as well. But
it's very clear that PlayStation Stars clearly was invented as an NFT thing. It's very like it's so obvious, and then they had already like made it before NFTs just crashed and burned early in 2022. But they're like, it's still a reward. But man, I kind of miss NFTs right now that we're in AI hell. Which is
which way, sir? In your dystopia.
Yeah, because
the one that keeps us employed.
but it's like what I was gonna say with like the Borderlands thing, like man, it's like because now they're owned by 2K. 2K is like they were the first ones to blow out the price like on next gen games back in 2020. So it's like
the NBA 2K was the first 70 announced. Yeah,
and then Sony was the one that followed after that. And
actually, I think Activision was next, but then Sony, I think.
Yes, you're right. Because then, because it was like they announced the $100 edition, everyone was like, "What the frick?" But it was like because of the crossing, and then they announced like the 70. It was like, "Oh, that's gonna be the next price." And then we got the Sony prices. So it was like that 3-prong approach. Like, okay, this is where the price is rising. It is not curious that we learned that Borderlands as a franchise has sold 93 million copies total.
It's a big one.
Yeah, so it's like that's kind of like a wink and a nod. It's like a lot of people really love Borderlands, so they probably are gonna boost it to $80 and they'll still buy it. It's because they like Handsome Jack, Joe. Because you're young about
I mean, I got Jack. Borderlands 1 and 2 for cheap. I played them both. Played them with friends.
Oh, that's right. You're the weirdo that said Handsome Jack's the bad antagonist, aren't you? Which is
Handsome
just
Jack
objectively
is like,
a wrong statement.
Handsome Jack is just not a good character.
He's the only good character in that.
Oh no.
Yep.
He's just not a good character. It's just boring. Like I don't find him entertaining.
Yeah.
Oh, I love him.
Someone who's just plainly maniacally evil without any sort of true character to them is not a good antagonist. It just means
that's the
that
point.
they're
He had a
boring.
lot going on underneath him. I mean, they had a whole game about him.
But they didn't show it
turning
in the
into
game
that.
before the game.
Yeah,
No,
but
they
you
had
didn't even
that
need
all
that.
in the audio stuff, which is like 90% of all of the plot for Borderlands anyway. But in any
Boring.
case, we're not going to open that can of worms and deal with it.
Yeah,
Show,
time
again,
for the games.
which I don't think these are the right dates for. What is it? It's 26 to what, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the 25th through the 31st is what
Thank
it
you.
is. Yes.
And then we've got The Rewinder 2 on PC on May 26th, To a T, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One and PC on May 28th, Disney Illusion Island starring Mickey and Friends, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One and PC on May 30th, Elden Ring Night Rain finally coming out, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC on May 30th, F1 25. That sounds really confusing, honestly. PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC, May 30th. Hypercharged Unboxed on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4, May 30th. And Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma on Switch and PC, May 30th.
Yeah. I am very, very curious to see how people take Night Rain.
I am curious to see how people do it. I don't know how interested I am in actually playing it, which is unfortunate.
They'll say they like it just because of the developer.
I think a lot of people will.
That's my guess.
But if there's one thing that people hate more than, let me think. If there's one thing From Software people hate more than that, it's a battle royale. So, it might be just the perfect combination to make them like it. It might make them just lose their minds.
It might turn the community on itself.
It might, honestly. And I would be here with popcorn to watch that happen because that
too.
community has been quite an experience to encounter.
Absolutely.
In any case, it looks like there's a couple of things that might be interested for the curious out there. The Illusion Island, I know that was a solid game, so I know a lot of people are excited about that for sure. F125, it has its own enjoyment crew as well. But in any case, we're done here, I think. It's great to see everybody, and awesome that we got to have a 4-stat group today.
Yeah, we haven't had it in a while. So
we haven't had that at all, and I think it makes me realize that
the Nintendo show.
Yeah, not true. It would be really fun to watch all 4 of us try to play the same game simultaneously one day. So I hope that they start making co-op games with 4 people again instead of 3, like idiots. In any case, I think this is about it. Everybody go through your socials real quick. Let's start with Alejandro. Where can they find you?
They can find me at _Segovia on Twitter and Segovia on Blue Sky, and my written content over at seasongaming.com, where they can read my recent review for Clear Obscure Expedition 33 and maybe this Blaze of Fire Trash Fire. So this Blaze of Trash Fire. So you'll probably see it.
Joe, where can they find you?
You can find me at Joseph_Law_Rusa on Twitter/X. You can find my writing at Season Gaming as Don Lionheart over there. That's about it right now. Hopefully gonna review Mind's Eye, but the previews of that came pretty cold.
We're going to put the
so...
microphone to you very clearly and carefully when that drops. And I'm realizing your username, you had the perfect opportunity to call yourself Joe Law Rusa, and it was right there, man. But
yeah,
there's always a chance.
Oh well.
Trademark it, Paul. Trademark it before you go.
I'm buying the IP address right now.
But yeah, that's it for me. Check out my stuff in the future, and check out the Avowed review on Season Gaming's website and the YouTube channel. It was good. It was a good review, and I really enjoyed that game a lot.
Get that Mafia article going. What do you want? And now that we know who Mafia
Rick, where can we find
you? A couple months.
Butch4969 in all the places. Steam, PlayStation, Xbox, Twitter, you know it. As well as Fridays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time live on YouTube at youtube.com/spreadingthenerd. Me and usually Clint, not tomorrow, do the show. Tomorrow it'll be, I believe, Silk in it. Maybe we'll have a little Androgovia. And you, if you wanted to come over. But I was also going to plug, I've been waiting on the whole episode to do this. You may notice a box sitting behind me here. It's a big box.
But what's in the box, Rick?
What is in the box, indeed? I will be unboxing it tomorrow. And live. And I will give a hint that, Alex, you'll probably know what this means, but nobody else is going to. The grace is given.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's
Okay.
it is the most expensive book I've ever bought. Let's put it that way.
Well, that sounds
Man, and that's a solid. It was like that book was like very, very like
How big that is.
look at that, yeah.
I actually don't like the fact that it's moving around a little bit because it's way too expensive for that. But I'm
Don't
actually
shake
kind
it
of
then.
excited. Well, I don't think it's that fragile, but
Mhm.
yeah, I'm actually kind of pumped. When I saw that it shipped already, I just saw it the other day. I had said,
You
should I
ordered
open?
you ordered it last
Well,
year. I
well,
think.
they had said it was probably going to be about a year till it shipped.
Yeah, because I remember that tweet.
Yep.
So,
Oh yeah.
Well,
So-
as
See, now
always,
we know we can go and find it. We can go and look on Twitter.
y'all can find me really quick at Dork of Art. I think I finally figured out how to be able to post game-breaking glitches once again if I download it to my phone and just get really patient all of a sudden. So
Yeah.
hopefully that'll happen again soon. And in any case, we're glad that you got to join us. We hope you'll join us next time in the same places that we all love to go off in our own little corners of the internet for. And last but not least, press X.
To play.
Good night, everybody.
hasta la vista, baby.